Joy News investigations have uncovered how family planning giant DKT International used thousands of pieces of unregistered abortion drugs to terminate pregnancies in the country. The drugs, misoprostol and mifeprostol, were part of a shipment of about 90,000 packets brought into the country with the assistance of Nigerian and Swiss fake drug dealers. Joy News' DKatie has been investigating how the drugs, which have the potential to cause severe bleeding in women, were used and distributed by DKT. DKatie has more in the following report.
Document intercepted by Joy News reveal the unregistered abortion drugs, misoprostol and mifeprostol, were used by the family planning clinic run by DKT International. A waybill dated 19th July 2016 reveals the clinic used 500 pieces of mifeprostol and 2,000 pieces of misoprostol. Another document we have indicates that on 10th August 2016, the clinic used 500 pieces of miso and 500 pieces of mife.
The fast-moving ones for abortions and Viagra are being channeled through Nigeria through another foreigner who is spearheading all these transactions. So it comes through a back door.
Belinda Agri, as we choose to call her, is one of the former staff of DKT who witnessed how large quantities of unregistered abortion drugs were brought into the country by the company. The drugs were supplied by Swiss-based fake drugs dealer Daniel Ward Vogel. The drugs were expected to sell alongside FDA-approved abortion drug Medabon, which DKT International originally distributes in Ghana.
They bring in the regulated drugs or the approved drugs from the authorities through the main channels. But the illegal drugs, that's where the chunk of the money is.
Our checks also reveal that the unregistered abortion drugs do not have labels and expiry dates. A DKT logistics report dated July 2016 shows midwives at the Lydia Care Center, a facility run by DKT International, had used the two drugs extensively to abort various pregnancies. This is happening when officials of the company do not even know the manufacturing date and shelf life of the drugs. The document intercepted by Joy News reads in part,
"These drugs at the warehouse do not have labels and expiry date, even though their efficacy has been tested by the midwife and proved to be effective. I could guess by the shelf life it will be 2 years, as other ones on the market. We, however, do not know the manufacturing date."
That means officials do not know for how long misoprostol and mifeprostol will remain safe for use. In the document we cited, DKT decided to donate the unregistered drugs to family planning clinics. It is a known fact that organizations which donate such abortion drugs do so to enable them secure funding from donors. The document said in part,
"Since the product is not registered and packaged to meet marketing requirement, we can donate to notable family planning private hospitals at a cost so as to obtain CYP. We can also issue to our Lydia Care to be administered internally, also to obtain CYP. With these suggestions, we can now monitor adverse and resolve them accordingly."
CYP stands for Couple of Years of Protection. It is a measure of protection from pregnancy provided by contraceptive methods during 1 year period. But in practical terms, the CYP stands for the number of abortions conducted by the organization. Joy News sources at the family planning giant revealed unregistered abortion drugs were shipped from India to Nigeria by Daniel Ward Vogel. In the original packaging, the quantity brought to Nigeria could fill 3 40-footer containers. However, the powdery drugs were poured into small Ghana must-go bags and brought to Ghana. Amarachi, Amagila, a non-governmental organization operator in Nigeria, assisted in bringing the drugs to DKT International. Country Director of DKT International, Kevin Hudson, however, tells me his organization is not engaged in importation of illegal drugs.
One thing, we did not import any illegal drugs. Okay? So just take that as a given fact, and if someone alleges that we imported these things illegally, there will be implications. So there is no question of us importing anything. So that's why I say there are nuances, there is sensationalist stuff about this, abortion drugs, etc., etc. We do not distribute any product that has not been registered and approved by the FDA.
But an internal memo intercepted by Joy News reveals that at 10:15 a.m. on 26 August 2016, a combined team of police and FDA officials confiscated the unregistered product from the director's office. For Joy News, DKatie, Accra.
And so that is the report. But DKatie has also been getting some responses from the head of Drug and Enforcement Unit at the FDA, Mr. Thomas Amejo. And here is the conversation that he had with him.
Particular drugs in question were not labeled, so we cannot even know which quality standards they were manufactured to. That's why we couldn't even do the full range of tests that we should have conducted, because you test according to the parameters specified in the particular standard to which the drug was manufactured. So since the drug was not labeled, we established that then the drugs are not going to be safe to be used, because what is the content, what is the quality specifications, where was it manufactured, how was it manufactured, what condition was the condition of manufacture appropriate to ensure that the drug would be safe for use. Because of that, we couldn't conclude finally where even the drug was coming from. That's why we draw the conclusion that we need to destroy the drugs and then charge them appropriately because of that.
How much were they charged?
There were two people, principal actors in the thing, the DKT director and one Swiss national. And they were each charged 550,000 Ghana cedis each.
Also, the investigations we did, we found out that DKT had used some of these drugs in their trials, and their report captured the point that the efficacy of the drug was in no doubt. Is that something the FDA was equally privy to?
Not that I'm aware of, because what we established was that the quantity that was supplied to DKT, the police retrieved that quantity. There was only one instance, they said some quantity was issued to a certain unknown officer, but that one too was recovered in a jar. But beyond that, to say that the drug was actually used, then that is a news to me.
Okay, we want to find out, is it the first time that FDA has noticed this in relation to the operations of DKT International?
Yes, so far this is the first time. DKT we have known to be dealing with reproductive health issues, especially contraceptives and devices for contraception. That one we know, and they've been compliant to date. They've also been applying for their advertisements, and we've been approving those ones for them. As far as this particular kind of issue is concerned, this is the first time.
What was the quantity that FDA confiscated?
In fact, I can't tell it offhand. We have the seizure note, and that is also with the police, so I cannot tell offhand that this is the quantity that was. But if you give me time, I'll go and look for the seizure note and bring to you. It's also in our report, so.
One would want to find out, was the sanction punitive enough from where you are sitting, as in only administrative charges for someone bringing in unregistered abortion drugs?
Yes, so far to us, yes, because the FDA law, the Public Health Act, specify a minimum of 25,000 Ghana cedi. And we look at the infringement that happened, that is their unregistered product, and then they were imported without authorization. So we took those two things, and then we combined to charge them the 50,000. That is 25,000 each for each infringement, and that we consider punitive now. The other alternative to the administrative charge would have been for prosecution, but the experience we've had so far with prosecution is that it's so laborious cumbersome. It takes such a long time. We even have one case pending in 2013, and the case has not gone anywhere yet since 2013. So when we have only a staff strength of 7 in the Drug Enforcement Department, for us to be taking up every day, going to court, adjourn, we think this is a better option out for us. And besides that, he's paying that 50,000 Ghana cedi. The other party is also paying the 50,000 Ghana cedi. He has not paid, but DKT has paid his already. He has been, when he comes, I believe, the time that we made the letter for the payment, he came, but the letter wasn't ready. So he left, he went back to Switzerland again, I believe, when he comes again. Then they are also going to pay for the cost of the destruction of the drugs too.
I want to find out, what did the Swiss national tell FDA during the investigations?
Not so much. We wanted actually to establish where the drug was coming from, but he couldn't give us much information. He was just being hazy. That, I mean, he contacted the manufacturers via internet, some Ascent Pharmaceuticals in India, and how all the regulatory things, we couldn't get any information from them. That much, the police were there when we asked those questions. So we believe maybe the police will carry further investigation into those aspects.
In terms of the quantity that you confiscated, would you say it constituted just samples? Because according to DKT, the quantity that was brought in were just samples for them to test and see whether...
Yes, to us, those are not samples, because we explained that much, because when you are bringing samples, there are quantities that are requested in our FDA guidelines. The sample sizes that are requested are always in the guideline, which DKT should have known. And besides that, they should be well labeled and packaged accordingly. But what we saw wasn't, that is why we are charging them for unauthorized importation. If it were just a sample quantity, not commercial quantity, we would have taken it otherwise.
Thank you very much. Because I understand that it's a prescription drug, but you can just walk to Okanshi Drug and get Medabon without any prescription.
Yeah, that is an unfortunate development, and it has even come to our attention already. As I'm speaking to you now, we've even directed that further importations be suspended until the Medabon, the one who registered the product, is able to justify the quantities imported to date, how they were distributed. We've written that letter, has been sent to them already. So as we're speaking now, further importation of Medabon has been suspended.
That is Thomas Amedro there speaking with DKatie. Well, DKT has been responding. Responding to this particular story and the issues that have been raised. Fred Smith joins me in the studio to tell us what their responses are really.
Indeed, we sent 3 questions to DKT International, and we wanted to know what their responses are to the allegations or the information that we have regarding the importation of these drugs. And question number 1, this is what we asked. Did DKT International bring into the country, with the help of 2 Nigerians and a Swiss national, large quantities of unregistered abortion drugs? That's the question. This is the response. DKT has never imported or commissioned the importation into Ghana of unregistered abortion drugs. In January 2016, DKT was approached by a Swiss national who proposed to supply DKT with a generic version of a pharmaceutical product which DKT was already legally distributing in Ghana. It is not unusual in the pharmaceutical industry to be contacted by sales representatives of manufacturers from all over the world, and in accordance with usual practice, DKT requested for samples of the product which it received from the Swiss national in March 2016. As has been DKT's practice in compliance with regulatory requirements, DKT held on to the samples without distributing them until approval had been received and the product successfully registered with the Food and Drugs Authority, who is the regulator here. Upon further checks with the regulator, DKT found that the product could not be registered in the form that they were received. DKT therefore agreed with the Swiss national to collect the samples from DKT's premises and return them to the supplier. On 26th of August 2016, and pursuant to the agreement of the samples to be collected, the Swiss national arrived in Ghana with 2 guests, both of whom are Nigerian nationals and with whom DKT had no dealings. Within minutes of their arrival, the police arrived at the DKT premises. The police informed DKT that information it had received suggested that a Swiss national had arrived at DKT's premises to supply large quantities of unregistered pharmaceutical products, and the police proceeded to search the premises of DKT and interviewed some of its staff. The police found the samples which were to be returned to the supplier through the Swiss national and confiscated them. The products found on DKT's premises were not in large quantities, and this can be verified from the authorities. And I'm sure you heard the responses from the Food and Drugs Authority. Following this response, they were still punished by the Food and Drugs Authority, giving some...
Which means that they were aware of the drug. They were aware that these were fake drugs.
Indeed, from this explanation they've given, they became aware after they received the samples, and they said they were returning them to the Swiss nationals. And it was at the point of return, they still had it in their custody.
That's the explanation they're giving for this.
That's the explanation they're giving for this. The police came in and searched their premises. They found these items, and they confiscated them.
That was our first question.
That's the first question. So the second question, what's the update on the unregistered abortion drugs confiscated by the combined team of police and FDA officials in August this year?
And
the question was sent last year, so...
last year?
Yes, so it happened in August.
And then the answer was?
The answer is, as indicated above, the police took possession of the samples. We are aware that the products are scheduled to be destroyed by the Food and Drugs Authority with the full support of DKT. So according to this response, they support the destruction of the drugs. And the third question was, checks at the FDA reveal that you have been made to pay administrative charges for the said drugs in question. Then this is the response to that question too. After extensive investigation by the authorities, it was found that information received by the police that the Swiss national had arrived at DKT premises on 26th of August 2016 with unregistered pharmaceuticals were unfounded and without basis. However, given that the samples were found on the premises of DKT while yet to be registered, DKT was asked to pay an administrative charge. This is usual practice in circumstances such as these, where DKT and the authorities agreed that the products be destroyed completely. To the best of our knowledge, the matter was satisfactorily dealt with by the authorities. DKT has the strictest standards for its operations, and it is committed to maintain its high standards. We continue to strive to improve the healthcare system and build the capacity of the private sector through education and provision of safe, quality, affordable, and accessible productive health products.
I see. Do we know if this Swiss national in question has been arrested?
Well, the response does not contain information on the whereabouts of the Swiss nationals. I'm sure from the way they give the answer to the first question, they would refer that to the police. We need to follow up on that with the police.
We will definitely follow up. Thank you very much, Fred Smith, my colleague here, giving us that information as to what DKT has to say about these drugs, or their response to the questions that we sent through to them. You're still watching The Pulse here with me, Gifty Ando Appian.